After working hard at the gym, you need a mattress that works as hard as you do. Spinalign has engineered the perfect mattress for you and your active lifestyle. Don't compromise your recovery with inferior sleep. Order your Spinalign mattress today.
I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind, to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work and are backed by science. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body, and that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. We use only top-of-the-line formulations dosed for maximum results and the best flavoring systems available. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. Glad you can join us on this first episode of the month of June. Hard to believe we are already in June. Just seems like yesterday we were in March before everything started to go down. As we now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, we had this episode in the works for quite some time. We're going to air it tomorrow, but you just got done one-on-one Guru Talk episode with Milos Sarcev, a favorite, obviously not only to our fan base, but to the bodybuilding community as a whole.
Milos, first of all, the fans love it. They love when Milos and I argue about insulin and talk. But the truth is that we actually agree on almost everything related to insulin usage. There's just a couple of things that I don't that don't jive with me and that don't jive with him. But we respect each other so much knowledge-wise, and he's always given me a lot of compliments too. So, which is, means a lot, coming from him because he's a smart guy. That we have a good chemistry on the show together because neither one of us take anything personally. Yet we put a lot of science out there, and we put a lot of solid evidence out there as to why you should do what you should do and why you shouldn't do what you shouldn't do. And I think people appreciate that because it's not just blowing smoke up people's butts, with bro science and throwing stuff out there that just really has no application. Everything that we say has actually a reason behind it. And that's why Milos and my episodes are so popular. And even though we've talked insulin before, this was probably the most intensive insulin discussion we've ever had as to how to use it properly or why you would want to use it and why you wouldn't want to use it. So I think people will enjoy it.
So again, that episode is going to go live tomorrow on RxMuscle.com and, of course, the RxMuscle YouTube channel. Today, we have Iron Rage with Lee Priest going up. Obviously, this episode of Ask Dave, and then later this evening, After Hours, one where it is going to get a little controversial. But again, when you are dealing with times that we're dealing with today, these are the conversations that you're going to have. So again, a lot to expect this week on RxMuscle.com. Of course, if you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification button. You're not going to miss any of the videos that we're going to be uploading over the course of the next couple of weeks and going forward. Let's get to the questions. The first two questions, of course, from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. The first question, speaking of Milos Sarcev. Dave, you said last week it's not as much the volume, but the time spent training that can cause overtraining. Would you advocate a higher volume workload like Milos does? If it is completed in a shorter duration, what's the optimal time spent in the gym?
All right, let me clarify that, because when I would do legs, I would sometimes be in the gym for an hour and a half, but I had to rest a lot more between sets because the sets were so heavy. So I think it's more the number of sets you're doing. In other words, if you're going balls to walls for 2 hours, that's too much. But if you're resting more between sets and it's taking you, an hour and 20, an hour and 30 minutes to get through a workout, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if I was doing, say, a smaller body part where I wasn't resting very much, and I was in the gym that long, I probably am doing too many sets. So you got to find the number of sets that works perfect for you, for each body part, and then execute it. But there's nothing wrong with taking more rest between sets as long as you're not on the phone and you start cooling down too much because you're distracted. But I would do some serious, if I squatted 600 pounds, I needed to rest 4 or 5 minutes between sets before I was ready to do the next set. It was exhausting. So that being said, I don't think there's a time frame that's ideal. Obviously, I'd like to get in and out of the weight training aspect of my workout within an hour if possible. But like I said, on days where I was deadlifting or doing squats, or heavy leg presses where I had to load up the machine and I had to rest and I had to wrap my knees, it took a long time sometimes. And so that's okay as long as you're not just continuously go, and you're actually resting. There's not a problem with that. Now, I wanted to also bring up the Dave Palumbo Experience app. We're still offering a week free trial. If you sign up for the app, you don't get charged for a full week. And then if you want to continue, you can just let your subscription go and they'll start charging your card $29 a month. If not, you can cancel anytime. And once again, it's all my videos, all the articles I've ever written in one place. We put up a workout every single week for you to follow. I answer all questions asked on the app in a general forum where people see the questions and the answers of everyone on the app, as well as doing an exclusive Q&A video every week on the app only for app members. So you get a lot of value for your money. It's like a personal trainer in your pocket here. You can sit on the toilet, you can watch it, and just educate yourself. And that was always the goal of the Dave Palumbo Experience app, was to give you guys an education tool that's always evolving. It's not the same thing. We're always putting new content on there. Someone asked me, a good friend of mine said to me, he said, Dave, hey, why should I spend $29 a month for your app, the Dave Palumbo app, when I can actually talk to aliens for $9.99 a month? I said, yeah, but the aliens might be a little smarter than me, but I know way more about GH than they do.
Wait, where can you talk to aliens for $9.99 a month? I'm interested, and I think a lot of our viewers.
There's an app out there. You can learn to talk to aliens, remote viewing,
Wait, you mean to tell me there's an app where you pay $9.99 a month to speak to aliens?
Well, they teach you how to speak to aliens, I guess, by meditating and remote viewing, and you beam yourself up to their ship and you talk to them. Yeah.
Wait, Dave, I get all that. $9.99 that you're parting ways with on a monthly basis.
Yes.
To learn to speak to aliens.
That's right.
That's very smart businessman out there or businesswoman.
Well, I mean, I guess not if you're actually talking to aliens.
Make them a lot of money.
You and I haven't tried it yet. Maybe they really are talking to aliens. It's possible. The guy who does the app is actually very believable. I don't know. He claims he's been talking to aliens since he's 18 years old. So who knows?
Dave, there was a guy who died at the age of 94 last week that you reported on that said he can live without eating water or food.
Yeah. And there's another guy reported on who eats rocks. He's been eating rocks for 15 years. That's what we talk about on Iron Rage this week. So
I know is that there is a market for apps for very dumb people, and you and I have not yet capitalized.
How come all the people who can go without food and water and who eat rocks are from India and Pakistan? It said. Since I'd like to know that.
Dave, I would venture to guess a very, very minute percentage of a subcontinent that has over 1 billion people that eat rocks or go without eating food or drinking water. But what do I know? Anyway, let's get back to the questions. Well, this one, it's funny because when we started the show, Dave, again, we always preference this, right? Like, you could ask questions about bodybuilding in general, diet, training, nutrition, or whatever else somebody might have on their mind, life in general, whatever. Obviously now we are heading into summer. Dave, is there a specific type of sunscreen you suggest to avoid given the harmful chemicals?
I got to be honest with you. I don't use sunscreen. I really should, especially now I go in the pool a lot. During the winter months, I'm really not, even though I'm in Florida and it's beautiful out, I'm not in the sun that much. But when I'm in the pool, I do get a lot of sun exposure. Matter of fact, I actually had a little something growing on my nose about a couple weeks ago, and they froze it off. I don't know what it was. It wasn't skin cancer or anything like that. But you got to be careful. I have that thick, greasy Italian skin, so I don't really, burn. But if you tend to burn easily, you should get a sunblock, 35. There's a million of them that they sell at the store. I mean, you really can't go too wrong with sunscreen. The key is to put the stuff on. I think a lot of people, they put it on and they go in the pool or they sweat and they forget to reapply it. So if you happen to be one of those people, wear a hat, cover up a little bit. There's nothing wrong with a little sun exposure, but if you're going to be outside for like 2-3 hours in the sun, not a good idea. When you get burned, that's when you're predisposing your skin to skin cancer. If you're just getting a little color, I think you're probably safe, but it's the burning that you have to be aware of. And you guys out there know who you guys are. You know who you are that burn. I know people, they go in the sun for 10 minutes and they got a sunburn. Those are the people that are going to get skin cancer later in life. So you got to cover up, either cover up or put sunscreen on.
All right, we're going to go to the Instagram questions, and we get this question every week. Again, if you're not following us on Instagram, official_RxMuscle. We get this question every week, and we've been doing the show after hours now for the better part of the last 3 months, I want to say. We'll just get this out of the way now so we can get into the rest of the questions. Where is Vinny the Chin?
I haven't talked to him in a long time. I'm assuming he's still on Long Island. He's the Long Island, club guy. I don't know what his game is now that all the clubs are closed. He's probably having a nervous breakdown. We might actually have to, he might have to go back on a serious cycle to get ready for next year because, the Hamptons is probably all ruined for him this summer, and he's got all his shtick he normally does. I haven't talked to him, to be honest with you. When I was living in New York and Long Island, he would come by the studio every once in a while, and I'd get him on the TV show. But since I moved to Florida, I've been out of touch with him, to be honest with you. But I'm sure he's still around, trying to, pull his game off on some of the girls. But I have to imagine a lot of people are very, depressed, like guys like Vinny who can't go out to the, clubbing. I got it, the kid who does my lawn, I have a kid who does my lawn, sprays the lawn with the insecticides and fertilizes it. The kid's 30 years old. His partner calls me up, he was a bodybuilder too, ironically enough. And his partner calls me up, the guy had a heart attack and dropped dead 2 days ago. People, dropping like flies. It's crazy, and I'm making light of it, but it has a lot to do with depression. People don't know what to do with themselves. They can't leave the house. They have nowhere to go. Does it surprise you that people are rioting in the streets? I think people are like stir crazy at this point, and I think it's time. We did our time. We hibernated. We stayed away from other people. We did our social distancing. I think it's time that things open up again and we see where the cards fall at this point, because I think if it goes any longer, we're going to have a lot of unhappy people on our hands, and that usually leads to bad stuff in society. So I think it's time that we open things up again. I think people are ready.
Good one here about the Olympia. I'm not sure if during all the talking points about the Olympia moving to December, if you've covered this one, but it's from JM Powell. Do you think that if the Olympia is a success this year with everything in December, they might consider moving it from September in 2021 or later on in the future to make it a December staple?
No, because I think that, number one, I think it interrupts the whole holiday season, because once you get to Thanksgiving, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, you got Christmas shopping. People don't have money to spend. I think it would be a bad idea to put it too close to the holidays. It's also at the very end of the year. No one wants to diet that long. Imagine you qualify at the Arnold in March, and then you got to wait to the Olympia to compete. And then the Olympia and the Arnold will be too close together, because you get off the Olympia stage and you almost get like a week for Christmas, and New Year's, and then you really have to continue dieting, because the Arnold will be in another 2 months or so. So I think that those two major shows will be too close together. I think the reason that obviously they're doing it is because we had an abbreviated year, and we need people to qualify for the show and get ready. But I think it's going to move back. Maybe not to September, but I think at least it should go back to October.
Let's go to Neil Zalewski. What is your view on pulsing oral anabolics? For example, doing Anadrol 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on versus 4 straight weeks on.
Yeah. I don't really like orals because they kill your appetite and they're very toxic. And I think the injectables do everything the orals do pretty much. But if you're going to use them, I almost think that 2 week on, 2 week off is a good idea. I almost think doing them almost every other day is even a better idea, or 2 days on, 2 days off, because then the toxicity aspect of it is cut down quite a bit, and I think the appetite suppression might be cut down as well. I never had a chance to try it that way, but looking back in hindsight, I think that would be a better way to go, because if you're on 1,000 milligrams of testosterone a week, your baseline of anabolic drive is high already, and then if every couple days you pulse with some orals, some strong orals like Dianabol or Anadrol, I think that would be a better way to grow without the toxicity and without the appetite suppression. I don't know what the perfect on-off would be, but I would experiment a little bit with it, but 2 days on, 2 days off might be the way to go. Sometimes if you go 2 straight weeks, by probably 2 or 3 days in, you might not be able to eat anymore. That's the key. If you can't eat in the off season because you have no hunger because these orals are killing your appetite, then who cares how strong the orals are? You're not going to grow. The food is the most important component of the whole equation. And if you can't get all that food in, you're not growing.
Let's go to Maddie Cat Lifts. Recently watched a Mike Mentzer seminar. What are your thoughts on training one set per body part to failure?
He went to a Mike Mentzer seminar and he wants to train one body part to failure. I'm not really sure what the question is, though.
So I guess they must have picked that up from the Mike Mentzer seminar, training one set per body. Yeah.
Oh, one set per body. Okay. Yeah. I don't think that it's possible, unless maybe you're Dorian Yates, to generate enough intensity in one set to completely exhaust the muscle. Okay. I cut my volume tremendously back when Mentzer came out and was talking about the heavy duty training, where he involved Dorian, and that goes back to Arthur Jones' whole philosophy of super high intensity training with less sets and less volume. I didn't feel that I can get a full enough, a complete enough workout with 1 or 2 sets per body part, but I certainly cut my volume back from 15 sets to probably more like 10 sets or 8 sets. What I would do is like my first exercise would be 2 warm-ups and a working set. So that was 3 sets. Then I would do every other exercise was either 1 or 2 sets. So once my back was warmed up from doing pull downs, I would do maybe 2 sets of bent rows, heavy and heaviest weight. I would do 1 set of like 1 arm rows with the heaviest dumbbell I can do. I would go to the hammer strength machine and I would do 1 set of as much weight as I can do for 6 solid, good reps. And maybe 1 set of hyperextensions. If I was going to incorporate deadlifts into the back day, I might do 2 sets of deadlifts, heavy and heaviest. Because once you're warmed up, there's no reason to go back and start warming up again, So that was my philosophy. So I went from doing 15, 16, 17 sets of back to doing more like, 9 or 10 sets of back, because I cut the volume way back like that. And I found that, number one, I recovered better from workouts, and my growth was just as good, because let's face it, you're only growing really from the heavy sets anyway. So I was still doing the same weight, just with less volume. And once you do less volume, you can put more intensity into those fewer sets, because it's not like, oh no, I got 20 more sets to do. You can go all out, because you're not going to be doing it for that long. And that's the heavy duty mentality. I think these guys, what they did, especially Mentzer and Dorian, was how much can I eliminate? Maybe I don't need to do 6 sets. Maybe I can do it in 3 sets. It's like name that tune, I can name it in 1 note, Maybe I could do it in one. Maybe I can generate enough intensity in 1 set that I don't need to do anything else. And you know what I found? The bigger you are and the better your mind-muscle control or mind-muscle connection, the fewer sets you can do and you still get the same benefit from it. And obviously, if you can generate enough intensity to break down the muscle enough in very few sets, then you're not going to overtrain. You are going to recover faster because you're not doing as many work, and you're going to still get the same benefit because you're still lifting that same heavy weight and recruiting maximal fibers. And that's the key. The problem is I don't think a lot of people can generate that kind of intensity and recruit that many fibers in so few sets.
Let's go to NYC Grover. A few weeks ago, we talked about once you started to get up there in weight, if you experienced any sleep troubles during your bodybuilding career. Not sure specifically you mentioned sleep apnea as one of the things that you experienced during your career. So, A, did you have sleep apnea or ever experienced sleep apnea during your career? And then B, I'll add this, for bodybuilders that do experience sleep apnea, what would you recommend, especially for those getting up there in weight?
I didn't snore by nature. So I always breathe. Like right now, at my body weight of 190 pounds, I don't snore at all. Okay, so I'm a good breather normally. I know guys that are skinny that have sleep apnea. So I don't have, but I did get sleep apnea. I think as I got bigger, I was this big snorer, and I probably would stop breathing a little bit. I don't think I had as many episodes as people who have real sleep apnea have. But I probably would have benefited from one of those sleep, apnea machines, the CPAP machines. They didn't have them when I was bodybuilding. I was at my biggest. So what I would do is I just slept longer, I think. So I don't think my quality of sleep was quite as good, but I slept so much that I think I compensated for it that way. I would take naps. I know guys that my friend Dave Watson, when I stayed in a hotel room once with him when I helped him for a show, I had earplugs in and I still couldn't sleep. That's how loud he was and how much he snored and how, he would stop breathing and loud snores. Like you thought he was dying. And he got a CPAP machine. It really helped. It completely changed his life, he told me. So if you have a real case of sleep apnea, and you could find out by going to one of these sleep studies. And the great thing is if you have health insurance, it's covered. And they'll do a sleep study. They'll tell you how many times a night you stop breathing. And if you meet the threshold requirement, they'll give you a CPAP machine. And then for the people like that, it's good to sleep with it. You might not need it your whole life, but when you're weighing 280 and 290, you probably need it. And it'll probably help you recover from your workouts and make you a better bodybuilder. So there's nothing wrong with using it other than the fact that you have to get used to wearing that little nose cannula or whichever one you have one that goes over your mouth and they got one that goes over your nose. It seems like the nose one seems to be a little bit easier to tolerate.
Let's go to Ojela. Nico, why do bodybuilders who are strong naturally not gain a lot of strength once they start using anabolics? For example, Ronnie Coleman, 700-pound deadlift naturally, but when he got huge, he, quote, only deadlifted 800 pounds. Same with Jay Cutler and Lee Priest. But bodybuilders who weren't so strong naturally gain huge amounts of strength when they start using enhancement, and he references you as an example.
Yeah. Well, because I was weak. I wasn't a naturally strong bench presser or anything like that. My legs were strong, but I wasn't really strong with, like the other exercises. But I got really strong from anabolics, made me very strong. I think it's how your bone structure is put together. I think guys with big, thick joints that don't have a lot of movement in the joints are going to be naturally stronger because their bodies are almost designed to push weight. People who have like a lot of flexibility and a lot of movement in the joint, which is good for, like I said, flexibility purposes, are usually not strong. And that was me. So as I got bigger and my muscles got bigger, they tightened up my joints and enabled me to lift better. So I think that, at some point, how much can the human body actually lift? I mean, when you're squatting 700 pounds like Ronnie was naturally, I mean, what are you going to put on the bar, 1,000 pounds? I mean, you don't need to. So I think what he was able to do is generate more intensity, do more reps, with the same weights, and get more out of it. So, maybe he was getting 700-pound squat when he was natural, but I'm sure it was not the same quality of 700-pound squat he did when he was huge. He was able to really recruit the fibers more. And when you first start out benching, you almost don't feel it in your chest. And then as you grow and get bigger, you can actually squeeze. Using the same weight, you're getting benefits, and now all of a sudden you're really feeling the muscle working because you're able to have that mind-muscle connection. So weight is only really subjective to what your body feels. So you could lift 600 pounds and it can feel like 1,000 pounds, or you can lift 600 pounds and it can feel like 200 pounds. So it depends on how your body is reacting to what you're doing, and that's more important than actually how much physical weight is on the bar.
Let's go to Rogue Fit. And I think we get this question often, but again, new audiences like to refresh the angle a little bit. I want bigger legs. I may be trained too light, but it's been a few years and upper body is growing, but I'm still sporting the chicken legs. How do I grow them, quads and hams?
Squat. I mean, I've said it 1,000 times. The best overall mass builder is squatting. And that's all there is to it. There's nothing that's going to replace that. If you think you're going to do leg presses and you think you're going to do hack squats and you're going to get the same benefit out of squatting. You're not, because squatting forces you to, to first of all, bear the load and balance that load. So you're using stabilizer muscles. Then you're using perfect balance of hamstrings to quads to adductors to move that weight. And when you get into a locked-in position on a leg press sled or a hack squat sled or even a Smith machine, the machines are doing some of the work for you. So you're not going to get that full, complete development. The key is to learn how to squat properly with good form, full range of motion, and control the weight. And when you do that, your legs are going to grow. Yeah, your legs have to grow. They have to grow. There's no way around that.
But they've all had, just because he specifically mentioned that he's been lifting light. Is there anything to that
yeah, you got to challenge. You got to challenge the muscle. You got to maximally. We talked about muscle fiber recruitment. You have to recruit maximal fibers. The only way to do that is to lift heavy. If your body can use, let's just use for instance, if your body can use 100 fibers to squat, 225, okay. It's not going to recruit, 2,000 fibers to do it. It doesn't need to. It only recruits what it needs. It's like trying to hire people to pick fruit in your yard. If you have a million pieces of fruit to pick, okay, you're going to need the maximum amount of people to do it. But there's only 10 pieces of fruit. You can hire one person to do it. So if you want to recruit maximal fibers and break down the most fibers so that you build back your legs or the muscle being bigger, you got to use maximum weight so that you recruit all the fibers, you break them down, and then when you build them back, you're getting maximum muscle increases in size. So lightweight is just not going to cut it unless you happen to be a genetic freak who responds to anything you do. And those guys that fit in that category, at least one of them is Vince Taylor. And if you watch that Iron Debate from a couple weeks ago, he never lifted heavy and he was huge.
Let's go to Mighty Mike Fury. Dave, love the channel. Recently been tracking my blood glucose levels. I think I might be diabetic, waiting for the test. My question is, are IGF-1 DS or IGF-1 LR3 safe for diabetics to take?
Yeah, IGF-1 acts like insulin almost. So it lowers blood sugar. So it's not going to negatively affect, your sugar. It might even help control blood sugar. For a while, they were speculating whether they can give diabetics IGF-1. I don't know if anyone knew that, but they did a whole experiment on that, and they just found that it was inferior to insulin in managing blood sugar levels. But IGF won't screw it up. GH will make you insulin resistant, so that could screw it up. So if you're looking to, use something that's not going to mess with blood sugar, probably IGF-1 is a better choice.
Let's go to Jack the Comrade. If you pro, halotensin works very well to give a really hard look, but if you do a few shows in a row, is it okay to keep running it when it's so toxic?
It really depends. If you were going to do like 3 shows week to week to week, okay, I would probably say start the halotensin a week before the first show, continue it through the second and third shows, and then go off it. If you're going to do a show like 2 weeks apart, you're doing 3 shows, and it's going to be over the course of 8 weeks, I would probably just use it for the most important show.
The DA Montez, I'm on TRT, 250 mgs a week, and my levels are still only around the high 500s. I'm 41 years old. Where should my levels be, and should I up my dosage to maybe 500 mgs a week? Can't really afford a male hormone clinic because my insurance doesn't cover it.
Yeah, it sounds like he's using weak testosterone. I'm seeing that a lot now. I have guys that are showing me, I'm on HRT, and they show me their blood work, and they have like a testosterone level of 150, when it should be between 250 and 850. Obviously, preferably in the 850 range if you're taking HRT, because they're using underground steroid stuff that is underdosed or has nothing in it. Okay, if you have a testosterone level of 150 and you're on HRT, you're not taking anything. I guarantee what you're using is fake. Do yourself a favor. And I'm only telling you this. Look, it is self-serving because I sell these kits, these Roy test kits on DavePalumbo.com. But I'm telling you, for $20, test your gear. I can't tell you how many people have told me that that those Roy test kits have saved them so much money and time and wasted effort. And I'm telling you, it's coming from people who are telling me that these people will swear their gear is real. the guy I get it from gets it for this person and that person, and it's made in a pharmacy, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, test it. They test it, it comes back fake. And a lot of the gear that's not real is actually like test propionate. So it might not be equipoise, or it might not be Trenbolone. It might be test propionate, because test propionate is super cheap. Now, if you're a woman and you think you're taking Primavol and you're taking test propionate, that could be a huge problem. Likewise, if you're a woman and you're taking Anavar and it's actually Dianabol, that could be a huge problem. So just do yourself a favor. Test your gear with the Roy test kits that I sell on DavePalumbo.com. We have a clenbuterol test. You can test that. It actually even will tell you what the strength of the clenbuterol is. And there's a GH test. Don't waste your time and money if you're not going to test the products. Now, if they're coming from a pharmacy, like if you go to TitanMedicalCenter.com, which is obviously going to cost you a few bucks more, at least you know it's coming from a U.S. pharmacy. It's being written by a prescription by a U.S. doctor, and you don't have to worry about testing your products, because it's 100% good. So if you can afford it, absolutely go to TitanMedicalCenter.com. Tell them Dave Palumbo, RxMuscle sent you, get a nice discount, and get your HRT stuff from them, because this way you don't have to worry or play guessing games and try to figure out, is the stuff I'm taking underdosed if it doesn't have anything in it, because you're wasting your time and you're missing, weeks after week after week. You think you're taking HRT, you're taking nothing.
Time for a couple of more questions. Muscle Machine, how long do you recommend to take TESTOLYZE after a cycle?
I usually tell people to stay on TESTOLYZE the whole off cycle, during the PCT and then in the whole off period. And a lot of guys stay on it while they're on cycle, because it limits CHT production. So if guys break out, or even women, if they have breakouts or they have hair thinning, TESTOLYZE is a terrific product at 3 pills twice a day. It'll neutralize a lot of those effects. It also will, a lot of times, people take aromatase inhibitors, but that's not the right thing, because they're not really aromatizing that much. They just have a lot of estrogen in their body. Obviously a lot of it comes from aromatization, but if you block too much aromatization, you lose your sex drive and you can lose your ability to build muscle. So TESTOLYZE also binds up, excess estrogen and just pulls it out of the body. That's the indole 3-carbinol and the diindole methane in there. Those come from the cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower and broccoli. Great estrogen binding, type of product. So you can stay on TESTOLYZE while on cycle. Like I said, a lot of people do it, but I would definitely say take it in the PCT period and during the whole off cycle.
Let's go to Frog Thumbs. When running GH on a ketogenic diet, should I still use insulin to regulate blood sugar, or will it be a non-issue due to almost no carbs in the diet?
One more time, Sid.
So when running GH on a keto diet, should I still use insulin to regulate blood sugar, or will that be a non-issue given almost no carbs in the diet?
You're not going to have post-meal sugar problems. I mean, in other words, 2 hours post-meal and you do your blood sugars, you're not going to have high blood sugars. There's no way if you're not eating carbs. However, when you wake up in the morning, your fasting blood sugars can still be high, because remember what happens. You're asleep at night. 2 hours before you wake up, your body knows this is when you normally wake up. The liver releases a ton of glucose into the bloodstream to get your body ready to wake up. And if your pancreas is not working as well, or it's compromised because you have so much GH present, which makes you insulin resistant, you may wake up with high fasting blood sugars. If that's the case, and you want to stay on your GH, you should take a long-acting insulin, like a Tresiba or a Lantus. That's something you can take on a ketogenic diet, because you could take a shot and go to sleep. It doesn't lower your blood sugar. It's a very slow trickle type effect. What it's just doing is it's adding it's help to your pancreas to keep those morning blood sugars from going too high. And I have some clients who run some of that long-acting insulin while they're dieting. Others don't need it because their blood sugars are normal. So it's based on your numbers. So you got to go buy a blood sugar monitor.
One last question. It's from Vigar S91. Don't you guys ever get tired of this, quote, natty or not BS on social media? Does anyone really even care? We had a whole episode of Iron Debate on it. We had Keon Pearson, Greg Doucette. Oh, my God, I'm forgetting his name. He's a lifetime natural. Help me out here. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the kid who won the Team Universe.
Yeah.
Our good friend. Yeah, I'm blocking him out right now. I don't know why.
Anyway, so the question, it's funny because there are channels based on this specific topic. There are channels that do entire video series on this specific topic. In your opinion, does it ever just go too far to the point where it's just not entertaining anymore?
I don't find it entertaining at all, to be honest with you. I could care less about who's natural, who's not. I tell all these guys, I said, if you're natural, who cares? Don't even tell anyone you're not natural. Just compete and do what you got to do. That's a personal decision. You don't have to go out there and wave a flag that I'm natural. I mean, unless you want to, unless you're using it as a marketing for yourself. If that's your shtick or your niche, hey, I'm a natural pro or I'm a natural guy, follow me. You can learn how to do it the natural way, and you know what? You're still going to make improvements. You're going to get in shape. That's my expertise. Then great, I understand that. But you know what? Who cares if Mike O'Hearn is natural or not? I don't give a crap. Mike's a nice guy. I get along with him great. You know
we
what?
Had that question, by the way. We had the question in today's list too. So
if that's Mike's shtick and that's how he, makes his money because he says he's natural, whether he is or not, who cares? I don't care. I like interviewing him. I like talking to him. He's a good guy. He's as strong as a house. He trains hard. The guy's been putting his blood, sweat, and tears into bodybuilding for his whole life. And that's the story that you should be asking him, not whether he takes, testosterone or not, or GH. Who cares at this point? It's such an old argument already. I know we will hold an iron debate every once in a while on it because people like to hear the arguments, but it really, to me, I find it to be a little annoying already.
By the way, the answer, R.D. Caldwell.
R.D. Caldwell, right? Thank you.
Artie, good friend.
Sorry, Artie. I love him. He's a great guy, by the way.
No, really one of the nicest guys in the entire industry. Well, that's going to do for this episode of, I was going to say Iron Debate, just because we were talking about Iron Debate, of Ask Dave. We do have Guru Talk coming up tomorrow, today on the channel. If it's not already up, it's going to be up shortly. Iron Rage with Lee Priest. Lee Priest is going to break down a guy literally eating rocks. It's hilarious. You're not going to want to miss it. And then, of course, later tonight, After Hours, Dave, it's John Romano, and Greg Valentino. For Tyler Shore and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.